Together, let's think a bit about the logic of human action, about human choice. Now, praxeology, in a nutshell, is about purposeful human action. It's about action where we make a conscious choice. To be sure, this conscious choice might be quick, it might be rash or imprudent, but in a minimalist sense, it is a rational choice, a conscious choice nonetheless. Now, what kind of informal inferences can be made about human action in general? As human beings, we are rational animals. We are all rational actors thereby. That's because we have goals or ends. And to attempt to accomplish those goals or ends, we have means. I have the goal to record this video, for example. My means include having this computer in front of me, and so forth. When you get down to it, human action is always an exchange. It's a trade. It's about choosing one thing over another thing. I'm recording this video because, at least at this very moment, I find it better to do than the alternatives available to me. I could be spending the time riding my bicycle, playing a video game, or whatever. If my computer broke, I would pick riding my bicycle. I have therefore exchanged one thing for another. I've traded one situation for another situation. In general, human action can be autistic or interpersonal. And if it is interpersonal, it can be voluntary or involuntary. So let's first think about autistic exchange. That is, so to speak, exchange with oneself, so to speak, or by oneself. So let's say you're home alone, you decide to make some homemade salsa. Right now, you're dissatisfied because you have none. Let's also stipulate that before, you were contemplating going to the Mexican restaurant across the street, but now decided against it. So right now, at this very moment, you value making homemade salsa more than going to that Mexican restaurant. So when you think about this, what are the prerequisites to action? So notice that there is, so to speak, some dissatisfaction. There was some kind of dissatisfaction with your current situation. After all, if you were satisfied, then you would not be making that homemade salsa. Second, you're conceiving of a better situation. You believe you will be better off by making that homemade salsa than otherwise. And third, you have some ideas about how you might go about making that situation happen. You have means. You have an end. Now let's consider interpersonal action. So here we have, of course, at least two parties. Now, voluntary exchange includes the buying and selling of goods or services. It additionally includes the giving of gifts. So let's say you and I are about to trade. I have a car you want, and you have the money that I want. You exchange $10,000 for my car. You get the car, I get the money. So what are the prerequisites for this to occur? So first, we obviously must have knowledge about each other's existence and the preferences we have. And by the way, this is why advertisement is so important. Now, to be sure, advertisement can be tasteful or not, but consider what would happen if government outlawed it. Who would benefit? Well, of course, the big businesses in existence. A new small business might never take off without advertisement. But in any case, we need knowledge. But a second prerequisite, that would be that we have reverse valuations. So reverse valuations of the goods exchanged. You value the car more than the $10,000, but I value the $10,000 more than the car. And this is exactly why voluntary exchange is mutually beneficial. in the ex ante sense at least. That is before the fact. Now, you and I might regret our purchase after the fact. That does happen. But the point is, when we're making this exchange, we both do it with the expectation that both of us are going to become better off than otherwise. And that's precisely the magic of a free market, which exists less and less today. In order to get what I want in a free market, I have to give to you what you want. I want that $10,000, and you want that car. I don't gain at your expense, and you don't gain at my expense. We both profit. And the more we reside in a free market, the more we have to think of making others better off so that we ourselves become better off. And also notice that because we have these reverse valuations, there's no way we can claim that the car equals $10,000. A common fallacy is that somehow an exchange shows equal value, but it doesn't. There's no equality. Rather, there's a double inequality of value. So you think the car is greater than the 10,000. I think the 10,000 is greater than the car. Finally, what about involuntary exchange? So here, violence, of course, or the threat of violence is involved. One person gains at the expense of the other. So there's a victim. There's no mutual benefit. The robber says, your money or your life. Now, we might say there's some choice here, but obviously that's not much of a choice, your money or your life. It's a forced choice, and you are made worse off than otherwise. One person is made worse off, one person is made better off. There's a parasitical relation, whereas in voluntary exchange, we have mutual benefit, we have cooperation, we have peaceful interaction. Now, in general, human action can be divided into autistic exchange, but also into interpersonal exchange. And interpersonal exchange could either be voluntary or involuntary. And just intuitively, it seems pretty obvious that voluntary interpersonal exchange is far, far, far superior than involuntary. I'm the Amateur Logician from amateurlogician.com, and this is one video of a series to come, perhaps, on Praxeology. You can visit my website at amateurlogician.com and also subscribe to my newsletter there.